Welcome everyone. Today we're going to walk you through the process of creating powerful AI chatbots on Coze. So Coze allows you to build AI bots on top of large language models like GPT-4. And um, today we're going to do this in a question and answer format. So I'll play the role of a developer or a user of Coze, and Joshua will be guiding us through the process of creating a chatbot. So Josh, what are we looking at now?
So right now we're actually looking at the Coze bot store. And this bot store is packed with community bots that are built from people like you guys in the audience that are in our community. And you can see bots that are recommended. You can also see bots that will help you with learning, bots that are also characters, bots that can help you with your writing or to generate images and so forth. There's lots of things that you can do with these bots, and it's not just about making personal assistants. Sometimes you can make a AI friend or a game or some type of bot that can help you with consultation and so forth. So there's lots of different things that you can explore through this bot store, and you can use these bots right here in the Coze workspace, or even sometimes at some of these other buttons here that can help you get to some of these popular chat apps that Coze bots are available on, like Discord and Telegram.
Awesome. So this is a place, I guess, where I can get inspiration for the kinds of bots I can build and the use cases of AI chatbots. I can see there's learning, characters, productivity, image-based writing. So pretty much anything, right?
Yeah, pretty much anything. And sometimes you might not have to go and create a whole bot all over again, right? Like the whole point of this is to also help you move along a lot faster. Let's say there's a bot that's already available in the store that is just like something you thought about to use. Maybe you can get ready and go to use it for inspiration for later, or maybe you might be satisfied with that bot that's already on the store.
Awesome. And can you maybe click into one of these bots and we can see what it looks like?
Yeah. So we have a recommended here, but we can also go to public config as well, because this allows us to get some other information as well, like seeing how it was made in the prompt. So if I go here and I talk to this GitHub expert bot, you can see that I already have some questions that are already ready and prompted to go. So what are some popular projects recently? If we just ask our bot, this GitHub expert bot is going to use different plugins like the GitHub plugin, which is basically connected to the GitHub API, and the browser plugin to browse websites. It's using GPT-4, and it's going through different popular projects that it's recommending through GitHub. And if we go here to this prompt button outside of our conversation, we can actually see the Coze workspace on how it was built. So we can see the persona and prompt that it took to create this bot, the different plugins or tools that we would give this bot, and any other type of skills that we give it. And you can also have a conversation with the bot, duplicate it, and modify it yourself if the bot is available to you through public configuration. So yeah, that's how you're able to pick up a bot straight from the bot store.
Cool. So yeah, I think just from looking at the store, I'm already getting a lot of ideas on the types of bots I can create. So I've created custom GPTs before with OpenAI's kind of GPTs, custom GPT builder. So
Yeah.
how is Coze different from that?
So the GPT builder is great. We've seen some great creations come out of there. But with Coze, it gives you a lot of other features that you probably won't come across when you are using the GPT builder, right? So with Coze, you have features like knowledge bases that take up units from a whole bunch of different types of files, like PDFs, Excel sheets, APIs, websites, and more. You also have workflows to help with multi-step processes. With Coze, you can also publish to really popular chat applications like Discord, Slack, Facebook Messenger, and more, right? Straight from the interface. And it's really easy to deploy your bot in places where it's super portable. You can take it from place to place and share it with your friends. And also, Coze gives you access to GPT-4, GPT 3.5, and pretty much those different OpenAI models for free. So there's no need for you to go spend a bunch of money every month. It's completely free to use, and you have lots of other features to build on top of your bot, to personalize it, to make sure that you're getting accurate information, and the bot feels more like it's yours.
Cool. Can't wait to get started. So how can I get started with creating a chatbot? So actually, I'm going on a trip to Japan next month. Maybe we can build a bot to help me to plan my trip to Japan.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to get started. And honestly, even though it's easy to get started and going with this, there's so many ways you can build on top of your bot and add more complexities to it. So let's go over to our create a bot button at the top, and let's give our bot a name. So we can just call this bot plan a trip bot, right? And we also have this large language model that's also built into our bot's description. So a lot of the description forms that we have LLMs that run through it as well, so that it can understand the context of what you're writing about, and it can help with your bot's creation and production as well. So you are a bot that helps plan my next trip. Also, with Coze, you can generate a profile image, or you can use one that you have already. So if I go here and I get an image, I could just have it there as my profile picture for my bot. And then once we create our bot here, we'll get taken to the Coze workspace here. And the Coze workspace has so many different features as well to help us with the bot. And one of the first places that I would start is persona and prompts. This is where we will design our bot's persona, talk about the features that we want it to have, and we can do this all with natural language. So if I go over here to my persona and prompt, and we want to talk about, what our bot is doing, we can just say here, you are the plan a trip bot. Your job is to help me plan my next trip. You have the ability to recommend the best historical sites, restaurants, and hotels. So with Coze, it's really cool because I can write this prompt. It's pretty simple, but I can also use Coze to optimize my prompt even further. So if I want my prompt to actually have more detail and, is able to have a better prompt for my bot to understand how it's going to be used, I can go here to optimize prompt, this button at the top here, and then here we go. You don't need to be any type of prompt expert or someone that's like really great at prompt engineering. Coze does this for you already from the platform, and you can also press retry. And if you don't like the prompt that it generates, but we can use this prompt, and what you'll notice is that it's in Markdown format. And Markdown format is pretty special with AI because it actually helps the AI really understand the emphasis on some of its characteristics when you're using Markdown. So this actually works a lot better than text. So if I have my character here, it knows from this Markdown format of writing character, it knows that this is emphasized and that it needs to pay attention to how we are describing the character of our bot.
That's really convenient. So I don't need to be a prompt wizard to write a really cool prompt. And I can see it's very structured. So it's divided into characters, skills, and constraints.
Yeah, you don't need to be a prompt expert at all. Again, like you can follow this format. And if I wanted to add more skills myself, I can always go back in here, add another skill, like skill number 4, and optimize it again, right? Or I can add more to the character or add more to the constraints. So you don't have to stay stuck to what is being written here. You can continue to use this format to help you build bots in and outside of Coze as well.
Cool. So by the way, which large language model is the bot utilizing right now?
That's a great question. So if you go over here, right, above skills, you'll see GPT-4 8K, which is great. It's a wonderful model. And remember, it's completely free when you're using Coze. But if we back out a little bit here in our model configuration modal that pops up, we can actually go here to see all of our different models. And right now we have available GPT-4 Turbo 128K, GPT-4 8K, and GPT 3.5 16K. And just remember, when you're using large language models, right, like it really depends on the use case that you have for your large language model, because sometimes you don't need all the tokens in order to work with your bot or with your large language model. Everybody has different needs. So just because it's GPT-4 doesn't mean it's better for your use case. And you have lots of other options that are here in this model configuration. So you can change the temperature, which helps with like being able to give you a more precise answer based on what you're asking and giving you less of a random response. You could change your response length, dialogue rounds, and so forth. So there's lots of ways you can customize the use of the large language model when you're creating this bot.
Got it. So now I think we've basically programmed the chatbot to have a certain persona and skills.
Yeah.
Should we test it? Does it already work?
Yeah, it will definitely work right now. And let's see how it looks, right? So one thing to pay attention to is, again, we have all these skills. So this is before we're adding anything else to the bot. We're just working from the prompt, which works great as well. So let's zoom in over here to our chat. And right now we have a comment above that's kind of blocking the
Okay, I just removed it. Yeah.
Cool. So if we go here to to the chat here, we could test it out in the platform before we even publish our bot. We could just write, I am planning a trip to Ginza, Tokyo. Can you recommend some restaurants for me to go to? I am looking for 4 stars and above. So if we go to our bot, we'll see what it generates, and it actually like starts to try to reason with us, right? So could you please let me know the preferences in the term of my cuisine? So I can just say that I am looking for ramen. So perfect. Based on my specific preference, it's able to go here and give us some recommendations on some ramen spots that are nearby in Ginza, Tokyo. So it does work, but there's a lot of other things that we can do to improve this and make it a lot better.
Right now, it's basically using the GPT's own training data to answer your question, right?
Yeah, so it's using what's built into the GPT training data already from GPT-4 that's already been created, right? However, there's lots of ways for us to make this a lot more relevant to information that's available to us in real time, or information that is maybe only privately available to us through a lot of these different skills and memory functions that we have with Coze. So what I would tell you is that, this does work great so far, but there's so many ways that we can make this more personalized towards our use case that might not be available from the training data that's already from on GPT-4. But we can use some of these skills and features to basically fine tune like how we are actually working with the bot. So yeah, it only works off the knowledge of what's on GPT-4 for now, but we can add plugins, workflows, knowledge, and variables, and all these other features that we have available to us to make it even more comprehensive.
Okay, can you show me what plugins can do?
Yeah, plugins are awesome, right? So I'm sure everybody here is aware of what an API is, an application programming interface. And this helps you get information from different services across the web. So if you go here to add plugin, you'll see that we have plugins like Google Web Search. We can search the web and find different things you search on the web. This works just like the search engine. So if you want to add a plugin, all you have to do is click add, right? We also have plugins like GPT-4 and DALL-E 3 for our text to image generation, right? So if you want an image to be generated from a certain prompt that you put in, you can do this with DALL-E 3. But for our use case here, we are taking a trip to Ginza, right? So how about we go over here to convenient living and we add some things that we might like TripAdvisor. Now, you can see here with TripAdvisor, you have lots of different functions. And when you see these functions actually come from the TripAdvisor API. So each function here would be like the function that you would see in the API documentation. So with Coze, you don't need to code any of this. You just need to have the URL or for the endpoint of the API, and you'll get access to all these different functions depending on the API that you're at. So, I'm taking this trip, and I think I'm going to need all of these different functions that are available to me from TripAdvisor. So I want to be able to search the airport, search some flights, hotels, search information about my location, and why not add some stuff from Yelp as well? So Yelp is going to help us find different businesses, restaurants, and give us recommendations. So how about we add all of these different functions that are available to us, like the reviews, the phone number, the business search, which will come in handy later, if we add all these different functionalities as well. So if we go back like this, we'll be able to see, all of our plugins that can be of use.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other things you can add too.
There are like over 200 plugins. And if there's a plugin you don't see but you want to use, you can also create your own by using an external API. And we can
Absolutely.
look into that. We can talk about that later. For this spot, we now have TripAdvisor, which can help us recommend places to stay at and visit, and Yelp, which can recommend restaurants.
Yep. And yeah, creating your own plugin is super easy to do. All you need to do is just have that endpoint, like I mentioned before, and you'll be able to work from there. There's lots of documentation on how to add a plugin. So there might be something that's not available to you that you'll be able to add as a plugin later on. So now we have all these different functions that are available to us from these APIs. And, if I go and ask how my bot to utilize something from this, from my plugins as well, I can even specify in my prompt how to actually, when like a certain scenario for me to use this actual function, like searching for a business, right? So if you see I have the search for business plugin here, Coze also has a copy button that's here. So you can copy the name of this function and you can actually put it inside of your prompt as well. So if I want to recommend restaurants, I can go on the grounds user preferences and specify destinations, make use of, let's change it to the business, search business plugin to recommend top 3 eateries. We can do the same thing there, right? So if I ask a similar type of question, we'll get our Yelp API to use this function when we're discussing, what suggested restaurants for my bot to use. So if I go here, I am looking for Japanese curry. And let me just correct Japanese curry. You'll see that it's using our Yelp plugin now. And again, this is without use of any type of coding, and it's using all the plugins and APIs that we have here in order to generate this response using Yelp.
And if you click on the links, it will actually direct you to the relevant Yelp page.
Yeah. So let's open it up and take a look. So you can also see at the bottom as well, it says that Yelp is there. But if we open this up, you'll see that I can be taken to this actual page on Yelp to get myself some Japanese curry, right? So let's go back to our page here, and yeah.
So that's pretty cool. By the way, how does the AI bot know when to use this plugin? You basically just tell it in natural language in the prompt.
Yeah. So like I showed before, if you go here, again, like you can customize your prompt, like I showed you. Even though I optimize it, I customize it even further. And in one of the skills, we talked about suggesting restaurants. And I can always create another skill too that can utilize any of these other functions as well. Automatically, sometimes you can go see that it will use the plugin itself based on the context of the conversation. But if we want to really specify and make sure that it's using the ones that we needed to in certain situations, like finding the best restaurants, we could write here within our skill that we want to use the search business function. And we know that the search business function comes from the Yelp plugin, right? That's right here.
So if you go next to the search business, there is a copy button that allows you to copy the function in one click. Yeah. And then you can just paste it in the prompt to let the bot know when it should use that function.
Yep.
Cool. So what if I want the response to look more structured? What if I want to include both, say, images and text at the same time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Coze actually has a pretty new feature as well that helps you organize and structure that with card bindings. So these card data bindings help you structure your responses in a way that you would expect it to, based on the function of the API. So this is the interface that comes available with that. And if we just click one of the card styles here, let's just try card style number 1. Let's bring our attention over here to this preview of the card effect. So if you look at number 1, this is the binding data. So number 1, 2, and 3 all have different places of data that you want to actually have available. So the title, we could put the name of the restaurant. Then we can have the description of the restaurant here, if that's available to us in the API, and then a picture of the restaurant or a picture the restaurant provides based on the Yelp API that we're using. So this card binding data will just turn into a vertical list because that's how I want it to be formatted. So each restaurant that I have recommended to me will be stacked on top of one of another. And then I can have my max length be 5 here, but even if my prompt I write, I want the top 3 eateries, I can do so, but let's just put 5 for now, just to leave some room just in case. And then we can select an array here. So this array that we're selecting is based on the data object that's within the Yelp API that's being used for the Yelp plugin. So we have this business array here, which will be the list of the different businesses based on the search protocol that we have. And then if we go here to select our data, remember we're looking for the title. So let's try to look through the data that's available to us and see where we can find the name of the actual restaurant. So if we go here, we can just scroll through and we see that we have name. So name, we're going to test this out and take a look, and this should be the name of the actual restaurant. We want to get the description. So if we go here to the description, we can go and search through and find out which field would be the most closest to the description. So I know that some APIs don't have the best naming conventions, and just so happens that Yelp doesn't have the best as well, but title just so happens to be the description on the Yelp API. Then we can go here to get our image, which would be section number 3 over here, right? And our image would just be image URL or the actual image. So in this instance, we're going to choose image URL for this, right? So if we go down, we can also have the LLM determine the text output, but for now, we'll just let that be alone.
Yeah,
and we have our click card
toggle on the link. Yeah, so this will allow people to jump to the actual Yelp page by clicking on the card. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So then we have our actual URL that we have here, and then we can click confirm. All right, so now our card binding is created. So if I write again, I am looking. Let me zoom in a bit. I am looking for sushi in Ginza, Tokyo. We can see that's using the Yelp plugin. And then there we go. There's our data bindings, that are card bindings that are available to us. And it gave it to us in a different format than what's here. If we use this format without using the card bindings, we're leaving it up to the LLM to decide how we want things to be formatted. Whereas the card bindings actually goes based on the functions that we have available in the plugin, and it will actually organize it the way we want to. And the cool thing about the card bindings is that you can click one of the card bindings that are there, and you can actually get taken to the link that we selected in the menu as well. So it makes it really easy for our users to use this as well.
Okay, this answer looks a lot prettier than what it was.
And again, there's so many different formats that you can use with the card bindings, and this is just based on one of the functions. So maybe not every function that you have available here needs a card binding, but it is nice to have, and it gives it a nice look for your user that's really intuitive for them to use.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So now the travel bot can leverage external tools like Yelp and TripAdvisor to recommend restaurants, hotels, and places to visit. What else can we do to make this bot even more powerful?
Yeah. So, these are plugins or skills or tools, right? That you hear a lot about AI using tools and so forth. But how can we make this AI bot feel like it's a more personalized bot based on the things that we do or things or preferences that we have when we're traveling, right? For example. And if we have this travel bot, we can use features like variables to set memory, basically to personalize responses based on what we are actually like what we're into. So we can add a variable here, and we can add a variable for your trip preferences. So maybe you're somebody that likes to go on hiking trails a lot more, or maybe someone that loves to look at historical sites in a city, or somebody that likes to eat omakase when like only as a meal. We can also create a variable here for preferences, or we can name it trip preferences, whatever we like, and we can also put a description that says, you know, this say this is for trip preferences such as nature, culture, and food preferences. So you can write a description like that or something that's even more elaborate to create a variable. And if we save it, and then I write that my trip preferences are going on hikes and seeing historical sites, right? If I do that, we'll see with our memory function here with keyword memory, you'll see that it looks at the keyword or the memory of our actual conversation with the bot, and it will save a variable. And now when I discuss with my bot further about what I want to do while I'm in Ginza, it would actually start to give me responses based on the preferences or the variable that I've given it. So it makes sure that you have an even more personalized experience with your bot that you don't really see a lot in other platforms that help you create chatbots without having to code anything at all.
So I guess this will have allowed the bot to remember properties or preferences of each user so that it can give more customized responses in the future.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
is this variable is specific to each user, right? And as a developer, can you see the variable of each user?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, you're absolutely right that these variables will help you personalize your bot even more. You can continue to add more and more variables as well. It's not just you're not just stuck with one variable. And as a bot creator myself, when I release this to the bot store for the community to use, my variables will be available. However, I won't be able to see anything that you're saving in your variable that's personal to you at all. So you won't have to worry about me or any other bot creator being able to see what variables you store in that section. So it's
Okay,
safe.
so this information is private to each bot user.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. I think this spot is looking pretty good. But I see there are a lot of other functions there, like knowledge. Can you show me how knowledge works?
Yeah, knowledge is like one of my favorite features when it comes to using Coze. So with knowledge bases, you're able to reference and use content that you have stored in different files, websites, Excel sheets, APIs, Notion, Google Drive, and you can use these files in order for your bot to have more context on how to answer questions. So if you're familiar with retrieval augmented generation or RAG, it works exactly like that, where you can create a RAG pipeline without having to code anything at all. And you just upload your files, and then you'll see, just like how we use keyword memory and the plugin, you'll see how it is generated and using the knowledge skill as well. So if we go here and we want to add some knowledge, you can go create your own knowledge base as well. But I'll show you an even better use case with this. So let's go over here to our Coze documentation for a bit. So with Coze documentation, there's plenty of different sections that are here. And it's really hard to go from page to page and upload each one of these pieces of knowledge to our Coze bots. But let's just go back to our Coze store. And I have another bot that I want to show you of how this is actually used and ready to go. So let's go over here to our personal bots, and then we'll also just go here to this Coze assistant that I created. So I have this Coze bot that's here, and it's a Coze assistant bot that helps with our bots to help our community learn more about the Coze documentation. So this is a similar bot that's like the one in our Discord server that you can join to chat with the community, but you can also chat with this bot there as well that will ask you answer questions that you have about the Coze documentation. So I already have a persona and prompt here that's written, and then I have knowledge bases as well. So with knowledge bases, if I go here and I add knowledge, you'll see inside of our knowledge base as well, we have all of our different pages from our database, from our documentation that's there. When you want to add a unit, you can actually go here to online data, PDF, text, doc, Notion, docs, table format for Excel sheets as well. And we could just go to online data. So if I go here to our Coze documentation and I just go to docs, and we take out this root that's here, where we do coze.com/docs. We can just copy that. We can actually add every single page that's here based on this being the root of our URL. And we can actually get every single page that is on our knowledge base, from the documentation. So let's go over here to our Coze knowledge, and we go here to online data. I'll just show you what it looks like as if I was uploading it for the first time. So in order for me to take a website that has multiple pages that I wanted to start from the root, which would be docs, and if I went to docs/publishing, it would be coze.com/docs/publishing, right? So we want to start from the root folder here. We do batch addition, and we can actually go here to import all of the different pages that are in our documentation without having to go from page to page to upload it. So you'll see that it's importing each page, and then you'll see it has docs, coze.com/docs/store plugin, and it's going through each one of these different pages in our documentation to upload later. And then from there, you're able to get the bot that we're creating with Coze, with the Coze knowledge, and you just add it to your actual bot, and it'll be here. And if I ask Coze, how do I create a workflow? It will use knowledge, and we'll search through the knowledge, which would be the documentation, and give us a response and generate it, right? So knowledge is super powerful. It's one of the best ways for you to personalize your bot and give it some type of memory, so your conversation has more context to it. And another really great feature about knowledge is going here to automatic call. So now automatic call helps you customize your knowledge base and your responses even further. So you have a search strategy that you can customize. But then another thing that I want you to take a look at is the minimum matching degree. So this minimum matching degree is basically a measurement of how much you want your bot to actually use knowledge bases. So I wanted to use knowledge bases most of the time, so I'm just going to lower this minimum matching degree a bit because I wanted to keep going back to our knowledge bases. Another thing that you can also do to help with, this type of thing helps with this hallucinations with your bot, because sometimes you give it knowledge and it has the knowledge, but sometimes it doesn't know how to use it or when to actually use it as well. So in order to lower the amount of hallucinations with AI, you can do this to help, retrieve information from your knowledge base. But then also you can go here to your actual model configuration, and you can lower the temperature. And the temperature, again, like I explained earlier, with this model configuration will help us get a more precise answer with less random information. So this is how we can use knowledge bases to help lower the amount of hallucinations, give our conversations more context with our bot, and we can create a RAG pipeline super easily without having to code anything complicated.
Yeah, I can see how this is super helpful if I want to create a customer service chatbot for my product.
Yeah.
Or if I have a product with like a ton of documentation, I can just feed it all to the bot in one go, and then it will be able to create a chatbot that can help me answer these frequently asked questions. And for example, we have a Discord server for Coze users, and then we just have a Coze assistant chatbot that helps users answer questions about codes in the Discord, because we can easily publish that bot into the Discord server.
Yeah. And again, like one of the great things about this is that as you continue to publish, which we'll go into much later in this talk, you can always come back and publish more changes to your bot. So if you have more knowledge, more variables, and more other features that you want to add, you can come back and add more features to this. You can keep customizing the card bindings. You can keep customizing the automatic call here as well. So there's lots of ways that you can continue to make your bot even better and better and test it over time.
Yeah, going back to the temperature of the large language model, I guess the temperature will really depend on what bot I'm building. So if I'm building a, say, creative storytelling bot, I might move the temperature to higher because I want it to be wilder and a little more unpredictable. Whereas if I want to build a customer service chatbot, I really need the answer to be more precise, and I want the bot to be able to draw correct answers from my knowledge base rather than just make up random things. So in that case, I might want to lower it.
Yeah, I agree. I think all these different features that are in Coze get used in tandem, with one another. Where you're changing one setting in one place, it also works together with another setting in another area in the workspace. So I wouldn't be afraid of using model configuration if you don't totally understand it. We have documentation on it as well that can help you with it. And there's always different use cases as to why you would want your temperature to be higher or lower, or your max response length. And just because it's GPT-4 or GPT-4 Turbo doesn't mean it's better than GPT 3.5. It really depends on your use case. So maybe you don't need as much as lengthy answers as GPT-4 Turbo might give you, and you just need some simpler answers that GPT 3.5 can give you and use less tokens. So it's really up to you, and that's why the Coze workspace is a great way for you to test out your bots before you publish them.
Cool. What about workflows?
Yeah, workflows are also really interesting too. So workflows are a cool skill because they help you combine all these different skills we talked about, like plugins, knowledge bases, variables, databases. Like all those different features can come together to create a multi-step process. And this multi-step process helps you enable orchestration between different nodes, which would be all these different skills, in order to create a stable response based on what you're actually looking for. So let me actually show you what that means, because it's probably one of the most complex features of Coze, but I wouldn't be afraid of it. Don't shy away from workflows. It's probably also, again, one of the most useful tools when you're using Coze, because it helps your users get a more structured and I wouldn't say predictable, but more structured answer based on what you're asking it. And I'm going to show you this through a bot that I also have a video on, which is an MBA bot. And I created a workflow that helps you generate NBA scores that happened in the past, and even ones that are happening in real time. If there's an NBA game today, it'll be able to give you updates on scores. So let's take a look at that. So if I just go here to my workflows that I have for the NBA scores, we could break it all down. But I think workflows, again, a really powerful piece of this is right here are the nodes. So pay attention to, and I'm trying to zoom in here. Oh, it's just zooming in the page. But pay attention to our basic nodes here. We have large language models in here. So I'll show you the use case for the large language model that I have in this workflow, a code node that helps you with a lot of different things. I use it for parsing information that I'm getting from a response from an API that I turn into a plugin. You can put knowledge bases, conditions, variables, databases, and messages. There's lots of nodes. And then you can also put plugins in here as a node, which we have for the NBA plugin that I created. And then you can also put a workflow and combine it with another workflow, which is also really interesting. So let's go here to our starting node and see what it all looks like. So first, if we back out, you see that I have a few different nodes that are connecting to one another, right? And if I go here, you'll see in our starting node, we have our date. And this date is actually what I want to search. So if my MBA bot is searching the dates, we could take a look at all the dates that we have and then run it through our API. But I think maybe it might be worth to test this first and see how it looks, and I'll go from node to node so you can see the response generate. So if we go to test this node, we'll put in a date. So we'll do 2024-04 and then 19. So we'll do the 19th of April, and we'll go here, and we'll see that it accepted our first node, so that succeeded, right? Then it went to our second node here. So our first node took in the date, and then we passed it to we're passing inputs and outputs basically. So our input was the date, and then we're passing that input to our node here that's going to be running through an NBA API that I found. Now, if you want to look at the result, this is like how the payload would look, right? And it's all there listed out. And you can see in the output, this is what the payload would have, like, right, all the years that it's available through the API, the names of the players, all-star teams, all that. So we have lots of information about NBA games and NBA players from this API, and we might not need all this information, right? It's a lot of data. And that's why we use this code node up here in order to parse this data. So we're actually going to truncate our data that we're getting. And you can see here from this response, if you see the difference in length of this here compared to our final output, there is quite a difference, right? But you can also open up an IDE inside of here. And this code, we're really just explaining, and won't let me zoom in here. But in this code here, we just have our profile, our home team, our away team, the game date. And that's all that we want for our bot for right now. If I wanted to go find the officials that officiated the game, the referees, I can find them, and I just create a function here to get player stats on a specific date. So you can use JavaScript or Python to do this. So although Coze is a platform that you don't have to code, if you are a developer, this really helps in order to get the information you'd like. So now that I generated that JSON response from the API using the code node and the plugin, I can then pass it over to a large language model. So let's just organize this a little bit more. So we have our large language model that it passes down to, and this large language model is basically reading the JSON response that I got from this code node that was connected to the plugin, and it makes it more readable. So if we display our results here, you'll see that right here is actually the input that we got from the last node. Remember what I said, the nodes are connecting from inputs to outputs, right? That's how we're passing information in this multi-step process. We're passing it from one node to the other, basically like an assembly line. So we have the game information that's here, but in our output, when our LLM reads it all, it puts it out in this raw format that's a lot more readable for us rather than having to go through all this JSON that's just listed here, and it's so hard to read. Now that I have that done, I can pass it over to my ending node. Now, I could deliver it to my user just like that because I got the scores, but the ending node gives you a really great way to organize your content, kind of similar to the card bindings in a way, where I can now take this information that I got from each of these nodes beforehand and organize the output based on the variables that I have available. So here I just have my game results, and then I have the date, the count of games that are there, and in my answer content, I can write, there were X amount of games that happened on this date, and here are the results. And the results we were able to make more readable in our large language model, and then our results will end up like this. There were 2 games on the 19th of April, and then here are the results. And then it gives us our scores in the same format that our large language model was able to produce. And, you can do this with any API. This is just a specific way that I did this workflow, and you can make workflows and customize them however you'd like. And you can make them as complex as you need to. And if you don't want to use a code node, you don't have to, but it definitely helps a lot.
So I guess, like in this case, the reason you need a workflow to do this instead of just have the large language model give you the output is because, one, the API is giving you a ton of information and you don't need all of it to be returned to the user. So you're using code to parse it and only truncate it into the answer you need. And then you're using a large language model to format the answer so it looks neater. So I guess workflow is really useful if you need your answer to be in a very predictable, structured format,
Yeah.
or if you need like to execute these more sophisticated multi-step tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how, workflow would be used, right? So again, like it's we're going through a multi-step process to give you that predictable, structured answer every time that we ask a question. And again, like this is where you start to use all the different features with Coze, like your persona and prompt will play a big part on how your workflow is used. You can use the name of your workflow inside your persona and prompt and say, make sure that you use this specific workflow for this specific task based on the skill you're giving your bot. And you can combine that together to then make sure that you're getting that precise usage of your workflow to produce the answer that you're looking for.
Okay, we have a good question in the comment section. Why do we need workflows if we can use plugins?
Yeah. So if you see here, actually, that's a good question. So some plugins, right, like have lots of data, lots of functions. And you might find some plugins on the store that fit your use case right away. However, this MBA plugin in my use case is a custom plugin that I added to the store myself. Now, this plugin will come in with many functions, lots of output data that I haven't had the time to like truncate through code beforehand if I deploy the API myself or if the author of the API didn't do themselves as well. So now I can use this multi-step process to run through the plugin, pass that JSON information to a code node, parse out what I need, and then pass it to a large language model to make it more readable and have the context actually stay up to date with what we're asking for. Now workflows don't have to just be used for this use case of using APIs, but since you asked about plugins, then this is what you would need to do. So it gives you like the plugins give your bot a lot of ability to use services, but this is how you can utilize those services and give it even more enhancements based on how you want your bot to operate. And you're giving it that predictable response, not just something that's random. Because if I have a plugin, the large language model might just produce something pretty random each time by still using the data. But if I don't want that randomness to appear all the time, this workflow is going to help me structure how I want my data to look later.
So the plugin can be a node in your workflow, but the reason you still need the workflow is because sometimes the plugin doesn't return the exact thing you need.
Exactly.
And you need some other way, whether it's code or LM, to massage your answer into what you really want. I think we have another example. Can we show that with DALL-E?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go here. And that massaging it is a great way to put it. So we have another example here that's actually a lot less complex than the last one that I showed you. So this one is going to be generating an image based on a description that I give it, but not just in any type of way. This workflow is helping produce an image that has a particular style each time we have a conversation with our bot. So if we left it up to DALL-E 3, which is a plugin, right, which is generating an image based on text, if we ask DALL-E 3 by itself to generate an image of a dog eating an apple, each time we ask that question, the dog eating the apple will probably be of a different art style. It will look different. It will still be a dog eating an apple, but it won't be a consistent style that we need it to be. However, when we're using workflows, which create this multi-step process, we can make sure that our art style that we need for that image that's generated will be predictable and be in the same art style that we need it to be. So let's start with this example here where we have the starting node that takes the input of a user describing how we want the photo to look. And then we pass it over here to a code node really, really fast. And it goes from this code node, and this code node is going to be creating a animation style, like an anime style character, of the same style that Makoto Shinkai, who creates a lot of anime movies that you may be familiar with. And we'll use his art style based on, all our knowledge online and, our bot doing the work to find it. Of a 22-year-old girl character with almond-shaped hazel eyes, black ponytail that reaches the shoulders, yellow shirt, blue suspenders, white hat, right? Like we were describing how we want our character to look. And when we run this example as well, you'll see that it will take this same response that we have in our code node, pretty much lock it in place so that anytime we're chatting with this bot, we'll get the same animation style of the art that we need. So this is why, like, you can't leave it up to just plugins to do the work, although they can generate something for you. We want to make sure that we're getting a consistent type of art style with this. And you can use this in a lot of different use cases. If you're someone that's into branding and you want to be able to brand something with your logo or something like that, this is how you can use AI to generate more to be more specific to what your logo looks like or what your brand assets are like, right? So it's lots of ways that you can utilize this type of workflow. And then that passes over to the text to image generation plugin, which is just DALL-E 3. And then from DALL-E 3, you get all this output data. And we'll just use like the data from original image, our image original here. We get the height, the width, the URL of that image, and then the end output will produce it. So when we, this is how it looks like in the workflow. But if we go over to our chat, which I have here as well, you'll see in our chat that I've already been chatting with my bot, right? Like I have my, I asked my bot, what is she doing? And it produces the image of a girl that has hazel almond shaped eyes. Her hair's in a ponytail up to her shoulders, yellow shirt, blue suspenders, white hat, just like how I described it. And if you scroll down some more, here she is again. Yellow shirt, blue suspenders, look at her eyes, right? Ponytail. So all that is basically the same anime type of style that we're looking for. If I left it up to DALL-E 3 on its own, it's just going to produce whatever style image that it wants. So this makes it a lot more specific. So I hope that really answers your question of why plugins and workflows kind of work differently when you're just adding it to a bot, but why you would want to use a plugin combined in your workflow to connect to other nodes. And this is why, like, you know, there's lots of different scenarios and plugins are meant to be customized.
Cool. I think in this use case, what the code is doing is combining the user's prompt the different prompt each time to a base prompt that's consistent every single time.
Exactly.
To produce a longer prompt for DALL-E to generate, so the image is more consistent, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, again, like this is a cool use case for an AI friend. You know, if you're someone that's into branding and creating assets or campaigns for your business or your company that you work for, this is something that you could use too to make sure things are consistent or in line. Workflows are super powerful. And we have a video on workflows and some more to come out as well. So to teach you how to use them.
Awesome. Cool. I think we had some questions about triggers. So maybe we can go into trigger a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we just go inside one of the bots.
So triggers based on like variables and databases.
Yeah, just scroll down under the skill panel. We can just click on scroll down to trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can click the plus button.
So if you want to create a trigger, you could just give it a name.
So this is useful for if you want your bot to send you some type of message at a particular time. For example, I can create a AI news chatbot that sends me the latest news on AI every morning at 9 a.m. PST. So the bot, if I publish the bot to Discord, then the bot will be sending me a Discord message every morning at 9, summarizing the latest AI news without me having to talk to the bot. The bot would just proactively send me that message.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just creating an airport reminder to send me a reminder every Monday, or I could trigger it every day up until like the day of my departure. And then I can also just have the task execution work from a plugin, a prompt, or workflow as well to help me with this trigger. And you can trigger things off of events as well if something is happening.
The event trigger, I think, is a little bit like Zapier, where you're able to, for example, every time you receive an email in your Gmail account, send it to me on the chat or something like that. Yeah. And we will create more templates down the road. We're still working on that. But for now, feel free to explore on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's just based off something that's happening. So if you do have like an API or something like that, you can always use that here.
And you can also allow your users to create their own triggers. So if you check the box, allow users to create scheduled messages, scheduled triggers. When the user is chatting with the bot, they can just say, hey, remind me to take my medicine every day at 12. And the bot will actually program that information into its own prompts to be able to remind the user. Yeah. All right. So if we scroll down, we also have opening dialogue.
Yeah, opening dialogue is pretty cool. So let's clear this chat history that we have here. So right now I just have this because this was based on the triggers that I have. This has this opening dialogue because I clicked over here, add opening questions to my dialogue. But if I go here to open dialogue, I can just get rid of this real quick. And I can describe how my bot is going to be used, right? So I can say I am a trip planning bot. I can help you with your next trip. I can find the best food and historical sites to see. Now I can ask a question. I can have an opening question that says, what are the best sushi restaurants in, let's just correct it real quick, restaurants in Tokyo? How do I get to Kyoto from Tokyo? Right? Like there's lots of different things that I can add in my opening dialogue. And opening dialogue sometimes isn't just about writing questions of like what your bot can do. Maybe there might be someone who's not really knowledgeable on what your bot can do at all. And you can just write an opening dialogue. How do I use this bot? Right? And you'll see here from my cleared messages, like already from the beginning, I am a trip planning bot. I can help you with your next trip, and I can find the best food, historical sites to see. So you can come up with your own thing as well. You can also use the generation button to auto-generate your response, your opening dialogue. And then you can also click one of these here as well to see how your bot just gets used and says, sure, I'll help you plan your next trip. And the bot will just tell you what it's going to be used for, right? Based on this opening dialogue. And then you also have other questions that pop up after each piece of the conversation that your bot answers to generate and help the conversation flow and move along. So it can recommend places in other cities as well. In Europe, that's what it's looking like. So, yeah.
Cool. So I guess this is a way, it's like an onboarding for the user, because when the user first start chatting with the bot, they have no idea what the bot can do or what are some typical ways they can interact with the bot. So this just helps the user get started.
Exactly. Yeah, it helps you get started, helps you get going right away. And again, like you don't have to just write questions that are, pretty trivial to your bot. Sometimes people really don't know what your bot's doing, and you could just write, how do I use this bot? And it will just tell you, just like we did. So opening dialogue is a simple use case, but really to the bot creator, not to the people that are using the bot. They'll love this.
Cool. And what about database?
So databases are really great too. Databases kind of work like variables in a way, where like one of the best ways to work with this is through conversation. So database helps you organize your data in a tabular structure and implement different features like bookmarks or book management. So like, let's say I wanted to create like a contact list or something for different hotels or people that I meet on my trip. I can use databases to do that. So I can add a table, and I can edit a template or just add my own table, and I can give my table a name, and I can just say contact list. Oh, it has to be the same list. And then I can give it a description. So just remember, like a lot of these descriptions fields that we have in Coze also run through large language models to help with the context. So your large language model knows what to do with all these different skills.
So every time you see description in Coze, just think of it as a prompt to the large language model, because the large language model is going to read your description to decide, okay, when should I use this field, or when should I write data into this table?
So, we'll just use this for single user mode. So say this is a contact list for people I meet on my trips. I want to store this contact list will store names, phone numbers, and email addresses, right? So then I can add a field here for name, and I can give it a description, name of the person I met, and I can keep that as a string, right? And I can make this necessary to add. I can also add the phone number, and I'll just do the phone number of the people I meet, right? Of the person I met. Let's say person I met. All right, and I can add this. To be honest, so this is like something, if you're familiar, obviously you guys are in dev TO, so like phone numbers are kind of interesting where they're not necessarily integers. We could just put this as a string and we can keep this necessary. So you can always change the data type between each field that you have in your database. And then you could do email, and you could just email be the same. You say like email of the person I met, right? And maybe we don't have to make this a necessary field, right? So we'll leave that necessary, and you can save it. Oh, and we have to change this to a string, and then we could say I just met a cab driver in Ginza. His name is let's just say his name is John, and his phone number is 517-884-700099, and his email address is john@cabsandginza.com. Save to my contact list. So we'll see that. And in our conversation, you'll see that uses our database, right? So it runs this. And if you look at our database here, see how it's all broken down. You'll see this entire response that's here of how it's being added to our database using SQL, right? So we see insert to, and we'll see the different values that are there. And we can also look at our database that's here as well. And you see that John was saved in our database. So John, his phone number, and his email. So databases are really powerful because then I can reference John later, and I say to my bot, I can say, hey, what's John's number? And we'll be able to get John's number and his email, and I can call him and go right away. And again, like if you have Coze inside of Telegram, Discord, or anywhere that's portable on your mobile device or computer, you could just have this stored inside of your chat, and you can always chat with your bot and get the information that you need based on what's saved in your database and how your entire bot's being used. So super powerful to use databases.
This is kind of a Excel sheet almost, except you don't upload an Excel file. You query and write the data with natural language through just chatting with the bot.
Yeah, chatting with the bot is really powerful. And I don't have to waste the time of going through the exact cell in the Excel sheet and putting it in there, making sure things are in alphabetical order. I'll leave it up to the large language model to help me do all of that. And I'll just be the one that saves the information in my database. So databases are really, really powerful as well. Simple feature, but it helps you get the job done.
Yeah. And we can just quickly run through the other few features. So long-term memory, if you toggle it on, it will basically just remember what you've chatted with the bot, and then it can use that information to enhance the responses in the future. So it's just an on and off toggle. And the file box is, think of it as a photo album. So let's say I took a lot of photos on my trip. I can send those photos to the bot, and then it can save these photos and in the file box, and then I can query these photos using natural language. And then we have some questions about text to voice. So if we scroll all the way down, there's a voice feature. So you are able to select a voice for your bot. So maybe we can just try adding a voice. So and there are different languages you can choose. So maybe we can select the English voice, and then just choose one of them, and and then once you confirm, the bot will be able to basically read out the response in the voice you selected. But currently, if you toggle over the information next to voices, I think currently voices is only supported in certain chat apps. Not all the chat apps support text to voice. So that's just something to take note of. Another question is, what is the difference between single and multi-user mode in database? So can we go back to the database? And click on the edit. There's a query. So if you click, hover over the little I next to table query mode,
like multi-user mode helps developers and users read, write, and modify, delete any data from the same channel in the table. The read, write, and permissions are controlled by business logic rather than the creator themselves. So multiple people will be able to add to the database rather than just the creator.
So basically, if you want people to only be able to read or modify data by themselves, or you want to create a shared database between multiple people.
So really useful for community bots. So if you're creating something in your Discord server between just like you and your friends or something like that, this is really powerful because, maybe you're on a team or a business or something together, and you want to be able to share a database of information with your bot that you're using to help streamline your processes. Using this type of feature is very powerful.
Okay. We also have a feature called multi-agent mode that we can quickly go into. So if we look at the bot now, currently is can we hover over the single agent mode?
Yeah.
So this is where you can toggle between single agent and multi-agent mode.
And I can actually bring up an example of multi-agent mode actually to you. So
just think of it as creating a team of bots that each specializes in a different skill, and they can work together to complete your task.
So this is my example here of multi-agent mode, but let's go a little bit further in. So if we take a look here at multi-agent mode, right, you'll see that I have a whole chat here. Now, in multi-agent mode, you're actually able to combine different bots together to help you complete tasks. Sometimes it's really hard for one bot to take on one prompt and then execute the task that you're looking. But if you have a team or a swarm of bots that can complete a task together, you could combine them through these different prompts and applicable scenarios as well, in order for your bots to work together and figure out which bot needs to be used for a certain use case or not. So this is a bot that I use in multi-agent mode to create a personal assistant. One bot is taking care of all the mail inside of my Gmail account. Another bot is taking care of my calendar and booking and sending invites from my calendar. Another one is updating Google Sheets, right? So all these different bots have different use cases, plugins, skills, prompts as well, and they combine together to create a multi-tenant experience so that these bots can work together to create some more streamlined answers for you instead of relying on one bot to handle one prompt. Multi-agent mode is super powerful, and agentic AI is trending extremely right now. If you want to stay ahead of the game without having to get too technical with how to put this together, multi-agent mode combined with workflows, skills, and plugins helps you create a really powerful bot with like a fraction of the time. So, this is something that's like our next step into how GPTs work with agentic AI.
Cool. And the way the bot knows which task, like which sub bot should be talking right now, is through the applicable scenarios on top of each agent, where you can specify when each bot should be called specifically. And then you can give each one its own skills. And these skills can be plugins, can be knowledge, can be workflows, can be whatever you want. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So after I've built my bot and I'm happy with it, how do I publish it so I can share it with more people?
Yeah. So we can even do this from our multi-agent mode because you can publish multi-agent bots as well. So let's go over here and publish our bot. And, we can have this help us with our description of our bot. I can press confirm here as well. And let's go over here to our publishing. So inside of our publishing, we have and let me just go here real quick. We have our change log. So we can actually generate any changes in our change log, or we can write like anything that we changed, right? So this change log right now is using AI to generate all the things that we changed inside of our bot to help us stay up to date with what's happening. It's our own version of version control, basically. And then we also have places that you can publish your bot. So if you remember from the beginning, we showed you the bot store. The bot store is great because you, a community member, can also create a bot and publish it to the bot store. So if I go here and select bot store, I'm already authorized, ready to go. And then I already showed you private configuration versus public configuration in the beginning. So public configuration, remember, we were able to use the prompts that we have. And let me just scroll over here to it. We were able to use our prompts. View the prompts of bots that were created, right? So I can see the conversation and talk to a bot, but then I can also see further how it's created. And if you're a bot creator and your bot has knowledge or databases or variables and other personal information that you have being used there that you don't want people to have access to, you don't have to worry about it. It won't be available to them when you publish your bot to the store. They'll just be able to have conversations with your bot using the knowledge and everything else that you have, and you won't have to worry about your knowledge going anywhere else. Now, right now, I won't publish this to the bot store. However, you can publish to Discord, Telegram, Messenger, Line, Instagram, Slack, Reddit, Lark, all these different popular chat applications that you could use. And again, it helps you make your bot portable. You can bring it anywhere you'd like if you're using any of these apps, and then you can also share with people a lot easier without them having to make a whole new account. So if you're familiar with the GPT store, you're going to have to create a GPT account, and then you're also going to have to sign up for premium to use a bot. With Coze, you don't have to do all of that. You're able to use your bots in other places that people most likely are using, like these other chat apps. And you can take a look at all of that in the documentation as well. So if you go to the Coze documentation, let's say you go to the front page and you go to the bottom here, you can open up the documents, and you can also go here to publish. And in publish, you'll see that it has all the different publishing ways that you could use, like Discord, Telegram, and Instagram. And it gives you all the documentation you need to get started. And for most of these services, all you need to do is make sure you have an API key or secret key in their developer portal, and you can publish your bot really easily. And the one that's the easiest to publish in is Telegram. And then I would say after that, Discord is very easy to do too. So just follow along with the documentation. We break it down all the way from step 1 to the end to where it's published. And if you have any trouble, just join the Discord and ask some questions. We'll be happy to answer.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you publish it to the Coze store, as you can see in the front page of the store, we also have a recommended section. So we regularly go through all the bots submitted by our developers and make sure we surface the best bots under the recommended section. And then we also have a banner where we can feature your bot. So this is where you can get a lot more exposure for your bot to get more users, more people to know about it. So I highly recommend everyone to submit your bots to the bot store. And if you share it in the Coze Discord server under the share your bots channel, you also have a lot higher chance of having your bot appear in the recommended section. So this is our Discord. We have a share your bot channel where you can share your creations. just basically explain what your bot is and attach a link. And we also have a channel called Talk to Coze AI, where you can ask questions about Coze by mentioning the Coze Assistant bot. So the Coze Assistant bot is trained on all the Coze documentation and frequently asked questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord server and chat with other developers or chat with our team there. And if you have any feedback on the product, this is also where you can post them. Cool. And then, yeah, so I think this is pretty much the walkthrough of Coze as a platform. And if you have more questions, there are several resources available to you. One is you can look at our documentation. It's pretty comprehensive. So whenever you have a certain question about a certain feature, just go inside a relevant doc and see if you can get your answer there. Or if you don't want to read through a very long document, just you can talk to the Coze assistant in the Discord, because the assistant is trained on this documentation as well.
Or can't you also use the Coze, the onboarding bot as well?
Yeah, exactly. So when you go inside Coze, there's a home bot that is the same Coze assistant you can chat with. You can also ask this bot about Coze features. And we also have a YouTube channel. So we're continuing to create and upload more videos on how to use Coze, best practices, case studies, and so on. If you have ideas or suggestions for the kind of video you want to see, feel free to ping us in Discord. Cool. Yeah, I think this is it. Let me send the Discord link to the chat. And yeah, feel free to join us there. Yeah, this session is recorded and we will post the recording on our YouTube and on Dev community after this. Cool. I think this is it. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have fun building on Coze.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.